All right, so this is the introduction to word problems. The notes look a little bit different, but we'll pretty much go about doing them the same way. I'll do the even problems, and you'll be responsible for the odd problems. And they should be pretty simple, so we'll just go from there. So one-step equation word problems. What that means is we know one-step equation is a equation that has a variable and some solution, an equal sign, and it's only going to take one step to solve. So what we need to do is come up with that equation based on words given to us. So the first thing they want us to do on these, and this is something you should get used to, is what they call defining your variable, which means what is your variable, what letter you're going to use for your variable, and what is it going to represent in the equation. So that's what step number one says, is define a variable. What are you trying to find? Use a let statement to define a variable. So a let statement is just this. So you pick a variable and you say, here's what that variable is going to mean. Step two, set up your equation and solve it. And use keywords to solve an equation, okay? Then answer it. And make sure you fully answer every question. If you look at these boxes, there's a space for work, a space where they want you to write the equation you solved. Just write the equation. You don't have to show all your work in that little box. And then what is your actual answer? So I'm going to do the evens, and you will be responsible for the odds. So first off, let's look at number two. 3 sodas cost $4.95. What is the cost of 1 soda? Well, right there, that kind of gives us an idea. Here's what they're looking for. What's 1 soda going to cost? Okay, so we know right off the bat, that's the unknown. That's going to be our variable. What are they looking for? So let's write our let statement. Let S, let's just use S for soda. That's all it is. I'm not picking anything specific, and it's not going to change the way we solve our equation. It's just a convenient letter to use because they want to know what 1 soda costs. Let S equal cost of 1 soda. There's our let statement. It's that simple. Pick a variable and tell what it means. What does it represent? So we need to figure this thing out. So the way we usually do it is we need to figure we look for a total cost maybe, or an individual cost. Well, we know 3 sodas cost $4.95. That's the total. So I like, whenever you get a total, to put that over on the right-hand side of your equal sign, because that's kind of what you do when you go shopping. You buy a bunch of stuff, they add it all up and give you a total. What's the total cost of everything? Well, now we need to figure out what's the cost of 1 soda. Well, how many sodas did they buy? We know what 1 soda costs. Well, how many were there? 3 sodas. So that's just 3S. 3 times the cost of 1 soda should equal $4.95, because that's literally what the sentence says. 3 sodas cost $4.95. Then we just go through and solve it. Okay? It's multiplication. 3 times S, 3 sodas. So we divide by 3 on both sides of our equal sign. That becomes a big, huge 1. So it's 1S. I don't need to write the 1 in front of it. And I'm just going to show my work over here for the $4.95, because I'm going to need to figure out what's $4.95 divided by 3. Okay? 3 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract that. That's a 1. Bring down the 9. 3, that's 6. Put my decimal, bring my decimal up. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract the 18. 1. Bring down the 5. 3 goes into 15 5 times. Obviously, 3 times 15, 5 is 15. That's 0. So I know it's $1.65. Now to fill in my little boxes, and I'm going to fix this right here. Hopefully yours didn't move too far down there. So my equation was what I started with. 3S is equal to $4.95. The solution, S, is $1.65. Okay, so we know exactly what it is. And I could plug that back in and check it. but hopefully I did my math right. So mostly this is just about coming up with the correct equation from the word problem. Let's go down to number 4. Let's read through it. A shark, think about this. There's a shark in the water somewhere. Okay, it's just swimming along. It's not at the surface. And it descended. So if it descended, that's a key word. It went down 32.6 feet to catch a fish. The shark is now at negative 82.25 feet. What was his starting point? So let's use another letter. It doesn't matter what we use for, because that's what we're trying to find, the starting point. How about we just use, let's just keep going with this. We'll use S for starting point. So we're going to define our variable. Let S equal starting point. Where did he end up? He ended up at negative 82.25 feet. So let's put that over here. Equals negative 82.25. That's our final number. Okay, that's kind of like our total. Where did we end up at? Well, we got to figure out where he started. Now this is going to be kind of interesting. He started at some point. We don't know what it is. He went down 32.6. So if they're using negative 82.25 for his final descent and depth, then when he descended, that means he went down. That's a negative 32.6. Okay? So he started at some point. He went down 32.6 feet. Think of it as a vertical number line. He went negative 32.6 feet and ended up at a negative 82.25. So what do we got to do? Well, on this, we always look at the side with the variable. What numbers are with the variable and how do we get them away from the variable? We have a negative 32.6. Well, how do we get rid of a negative 32.6? Or how do we get rid of subtraction? It's the same thing. We add inverse operation, 32.6. Add 32.6. And you can add a 0 right there if you want to make that one simpler. And that goes away. Because a negative and a positive, it's the exact same number, it is 0. So we still have S. Equal should stay in the middle. It should always just keep coming straight down. You can move the S over. And then we need to come up with our answer over here on the right. Well, 5 minus 0, 5. 2 minus 6, can't do that, so I got to borrow. 12 minus 6 is 6. 1 minus 2, can't do that, so I got to borrow. 11 minus 2 is 9. 7 minus 3 is 4. And integer rules. If the signs are different, we subtract, which we did, and keep the sign of the larger number. So he started at negative 49.65 feet. That's below the surface of the ocean. So our equation was the S minus 32.6 equals 82.25. And our solution, S was negative 49.65 feet, his starting point. Okay, let's put feet here on the end. So that was where he ended up. His starting point was at negative 49.65 feet. So that's how far he was below the surface of the ocean. Let's move on to number 6. Kaylin made 6 dozen more cupcakes than Melissa. If Kaylin made 88 cupcakes, how many did Melissa make? Okay, so we have to think about this one. This one can be kind of tricky, but let's just start with what are they looking for? Well, right here, how many did Melissa make? So cupcakes, how many cupcakes did Melissa make? So let's give our let statement. Let C, we'll use C for cupcakes, equal cupcakes made by Melissa. So that's what we're looking for. Okay? So we know that, let's see, Kaylin made 6 dozen more cupcakes than Melissa. Kaylin made 88 cupcakes. Well, that's going to be tricky because we're going to need to know exactly how many is 6 dozen. Well, 6 dozen is, each dozen is 12, 6 dozens, this is 72, right? So Kaylin made 6 dozen more cupcakes than Melissa. So if we already got C, so Melissa made C, Kaylin made 72 more. That should equal 88 cupcakes. Okay. So if Kaylin made 6 dozen more cupcakes than Melissa, so we know the total that Kaylin made, and we know that Kaylin made 6 dozen more than Melissa. So we can figure out what Melissa made. So C. So that's a really simple one-step equation. C, what Melissa made plus the 6 dozen more that Kaylin made should equal the total that Kaylin made was 88. So we just subtract 72 from both sides. That goes away. Equal sign comes down the middle. I can move the C over because the 72 is gone. 88 minus 72, 8 minus 2 is 6, 8 minus 7 is 1. So it appears that Melissa made 16 cupcakes. So our equation was C plus 72 equals 88. And the solution, C equals 16 cupcakes. Okay? So that one was a little bit complicated, but if you really think about them, you can kind of figure out what makes sense. Let's go to number 8. Snow is falling at a rate of 2.5 inches per hour. At this rate, how long will it take for 8 inches of snow to fall? So we're looking at how long it's going to take. So let's do H. Let H equal hours of snowing. Okay, hours of snowing. That's what we don't know because they want to know how long will it take 8 inches of snow to fall. Well, there's our total right here, 8. So let's go ahead and put equals 8. How fast is the snow falling? Well, 2.5 inches per hour, but we don't know how many hours, so it's going to be 2.5 times the number of hours it actually snows to get 8 inches. Okay? So let's go ahead, and that's 2.5 times H equals 8. So guess what? Divide by 2.5, divide by 2.5 on both sides to do the inverse operation of multiplication. That becomes a 1. So we end up with H equals. And if we divide that, let's go over here and do our work. So I've got 8 divided by 2.5. Remember, top dog always goes in the house. Not the biggest number. It is not the biggest number. It's the number on top goes in the house. So we got to put a 0 in here because 2.5 doesn't go into 80. Oh, yeah, we don't put the decimal in yet. I'm sorry. Let me fix that. See if I can fix that. I'll fix this, fix that. Okay, so 2.5 to get 8. I need to move the decimal over because I don't want a decimal in there, so I move the decimal over 1, so it puts my decimal there. So now I'm good. So 25 goes into 80 3 times. 3 times 25, 75. Subtract that, I get a 5. I bring down a 0, do that. 25 goes into 50 2 times, so I get 3.2. So hours, 3.2 hours. The equation was 2.5 times the number of hours should equal 8 inches. So H equaled 3.2 hours. Okay. I'm going to do a couple more, and you guys will be responsible for the rest of them because this one takes a lot of practice, so I want you guys to get a lot of practice doing this. So let's look at number 10. Marcus runs 1 mile in 7.5 minutes. Okay, so imagine he's running. Let's just say it's a straight line. It's 1 mile. It takes him 7.5 minutes. if he spends a total of 30 minutes running at the same pace, how many miles will he complete? Well, that's not terribly difficult because we know, first of all, what are we looking for? We're looking for miles will he complete. So let's do erase. Here's our let statement, M equal miles, and we need to come up with an equation. Well, what's the total amount that he ran, hour or time-wise? 30 minutes. He's running 7.5 minutes per mile, so we do 7.5 times the number of miles will give us the total time he ran, and we can figure out what the miles should be. So all we got to do, divide by 7.5, because 7.5 times m, 7.5 times m, and cross that out, becomes a big 1. Bring down the m, the equal sign should come straight down. It shouldn't be moved around. Then we got to figure out how many times is 7.5 going to 30. So again, top dog goes in the house. Other number goes outside the house. Move the decimal over 1 because we don't want a decimal in our divisor there. And 775, how many times 75 go into 300? Well, let's see. It goes 4. I think, so 4 times 5 is 0, carry the 2. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 2 is 30. Cool, perfect. 0, we get 4. So m equals 4. So our equation was 7.5, m equals 30, and our solution was m equals 4 miles total that he was able to run. Okay. Laura is buying dog food for a kennel. One bag of dog food costs $32. If she spends a total of $256, how many bags does she buy? This was an easy one because they even say what's the total. How many bags of dog food did she buy? Okay, that's given us a bunch of information just in that one spot. So we're going to use B. We're looking for how many bags she bought. So let's say let B equal bags. We've got a total, $256. We know what each bag costs. It's $32 per bag. So, oops, I don't want to do that. We're going to leave the dollar sign out. So we put $32 times the number of bags. So it's kind of like if you got to buy a gallon of milk, let's say it's $4 a gallon. If you buy 2 gallons, it's $8. 3 gallons is $12. 4 gallons is $16. It's just you're multiplying the number of bags times the cost of each bag to get the total. Okay, so it's 32 times B. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So we just divide by whatever's in front. I didn't really need that dollar sign over there on the right, but I just want to put that in for the total. So 32 divided by 32 is a 1. That's what we're trying to do, so we end up with a 1 there. When we're doing the inverse of multiplying and dividing, we're always trying to get a 1. When we do the inverse of adding and subtracting, we're trying to get a 0. So now we got to do 256 divided by 32. Top dog goes in the house. So that's the number on the top goes inside. So we put the other number outside. 32 goes into 256 or 25. It doesn't. I think it goes in 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Carry the 1. 3 times 8 is 24. Plus 1 is 25. Subtract that, 0. So it's 8 bags. So our equation was 32B equals 256. Solution, B equals 8 bags. Okay? So I want you to work on the rest of these problems, and I will put on the agenda what the rest of the period should look like. So if you have any questions, please let me know.